will say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. First of all, allow us to thank each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively for the co-creation of this interaction. Each and every time you allow such an interaction to occur between our civilization and yours, it is a gift for us to experience through you that many more ways that creation has of expressing itself. And so we thank you for expanding our understanding of all the different ways that the infinite does exist. In return for that gift, we now would like to begin this transmission with the idea that we have called no comparison. Let us begin. This is fundamentally an idea about your uniqueness. But even though many of you may empirically understand that you are unique, still in many of our conversations with a lot of you, we hear over and over and over again the idea that many of you discount yourselves, discount your worth, that you wind up comparing yourselves to others and falling short in your own eyes. We would like to now examine a little bit more deeply, a little bit more clearly, this whole idea of comparing yourselves to these ideals, and in your own estimation, perhaps sometimes coming up short, feeling inadequate. This all, of course, has to do with the issues of self-worth and the belief systems that you were taught growing up in your reality that may still be in effect in your unconscious mind and allowing you not to allow yourself to realize your full potential, allowing yourself to not follow your highest excitement, your highest passion. The idea of comparing yourself to someone else in many cases really doesn't work, and we would like to explain why. Many of you may feel, may believe, may perceive that you have a high degree of similarity to other people, and you may view other people who may be living lives that are at least in some way, shape, or form similar to the kind of lives, the kind of dreams that you say you would prefer to live in your own reality, but sometimes find that you simply don't quite know exactly how to attract that, how to manifest that. But many times when you make those kinds of comparisons between yourselves and others, you're actually thinking, you're actually having a belief system that a comparison can be made. When in fact, not only do you really have no business comparing yourself to anyone else, you actually don't really have any capability of comparing yourself to anyone else. Now, we understand that you may think that many of you are very similar, that you are all, after all, human beings on earth, and that you have a high degree of similar things that many of you do. And so because of those similarities, you fall into the assumption, you fall into the belief, you fall into the definition that other things ought to be similar too, that what works for them can work for you. And in a sense, that is true, but only in the broadest sense, only in the most general sense is that actually in any way, shape, or form accurate. Many of you think that when you compare yourselves to other people, you are comparing apples to apples. Understand, it is truly actually much more like comparing apples to kumquats. You are really not as similar as you think for the following reason. Anything that you perceive to be a similarity between you is, like anything that you experience in a collective reality, created by agreement. You have to agree to be similar to someone else in any way, shape, or form. And what that should tell you is that fundamentally, you're not similar at all unless you agree to be. So the idea is that even though you may experience what appears to be a lot of similarity to someone else, you really are not similar at all unless you set up the parameters for that similarity by agreeing to play the game of being similar. But at the same time, you also recognize that you have differences. And the idea is that you are more different than you think. And really, it is by validating, totally validating the differences between you that you actually will create a sense of harmony, a sense of similar vibration. That's the paradox. By allowing full validation of the differences, do you actually create a similar vibration with others who are also validating their own uniqueness? So the idea really is that when you start to compare yourself to someone else, and if you're doing it in a negative way and find yourself coming up short, they can do this and I can't. Why are they so much better than me? Why am I lacking in this? Why am I not able to do what they're able to do? Really, it should come down to the fundamental understanding that you are nothing like them and they are nothing like you, except where you agree to appear to be similar. And it is only an appearance. Now, of course, we are talking about the idea of your personality construct. Obviously, on higher planes and higher dimensions, the idea is that everything is one. Everything is an extension of the same one source. And in that context, yes, you are the same one thing, seen, viewed, experienced from a multitude, an infinite multitude of different perspectives. But those different perspectives are truly unique. And when you agree to play the game of being in a similar reality with someone else, being in a collective reality experience, you are taking that uniqueness and you are defining it and filtering it and tailoring it and molding it in a very specific way with your unique take on what being similar means. So even when you create the idea of similarity, you are creating similarity from a different and unique perspective. Your similarity is not the same as anyone else's game of being similar to someone else. So you are always unique, you are always different, and thus then different enough. Even though you may create the illusion of similarity, you are different enough that you have not only no business comparing yourself to anyone else, you actually have no ability to compare yourself to anyone else, because everyone else is truly at that level completely and utterly unique, completely and utterly different. And even when you create the effect of similarity, you are doing it from a unique perspective that is absolutely unlike anyone else's ability to do that. So the next time you feel the urge to compare yourself to someone else and find yourself coming up short, find yourself lacking, I would strongly suggest that you realize how unique you are, how different you are, how truly you are a particular perspective of the infinite, and that there is absolutely no other point of view that in any way, shape, or form is like your point of view. You are the eyes, all of you, all of us, every being in creation are all the eyes of creation and all the different ways that creation has of perceiving and experiencing itself. Cherish your uniqueness. Do not in any way, shape, or form invalidate it, devalue it. It is by your very uniqueness that all that is capable of being all that is. If you exist in your unique form, then all that is must know that your unique properties must exist in order for all that is to actually experience itself as all it can be. And thus, without you, all that is would not be complete. Without you, all that is would be finite. Without you, all that is would collapse under its own weight. All that is must, by definition, be infinite. And if you are part of that infinite existence, then there is a reason you exist, because all that is does not make superfluous creations, does not make mistakes, and does not say, well, I'm done, but I'll just create a little more off to the side here. Just because you never know. I don't know, I might need a spare or something. All that is does not operate that way. All that is whole, unto itself, one idea. Even though it is composed of an infinite number of parts, an infinite number of perspectives, it is fundamentally, first and foremost, one whole, complete experience unto itself, and every single component that it expresses itself in is a part of that unique experience, a part of that whole experience, and must by definition exist in order for all that is to be what it is, or it could not be all that is. It would simply have another name. It would be some of what could be. And that is all that it would be. Always wandering around, wondering if it could be more. But because you exist, you deserve to exist. Because believe me, if all that is did not need your unique properties in order for it to be all that it could be, all that it is, you would not exist. So if you exist, then all that is knows that you must exist. There is a reason that you exist. You are valid in its eyes, or you wouldn't exist. So the next time you question your worth, the next time you question your validity, the next time you question your differences, realize that when you question those things, you are arguing with all that is. You are saying, I don't deserve to be who and what I am. But obviously you do, or you wouldn't exist. So if you are arguing that you shouldn't exist, you are arguing with all that is and saying that it doesn't know what it's doing in creating you. Stop arguing with creation. You exist, and there's nothing you can do about it. Ever. If you exist, it's the only fundamental quality you actually have. That is your true core quality. Existence itself. That which exists cannot become that which does not exist. That's a completely different quality. And non-existence is already full of all the things that will never exist. There is no room in non-existence for the things that do exist. It is full of non-existence. And besides which, if you really look at the clear definition of non-existence, you will simply realize there's no such thing. Non-existence doesn't exist. That's its fundamental quality, to not exist. Therefore, there is nothing else but existence. And if you exist, you are a part of the infinite. There's no outside to it, you're within it. There is nothing else, and everything that you call a separate thing, including yourself, must then, because there is nothing else but the one, be made of the one, be made from the one, because there's nothing else to make anything with. All that is truly all that is. And therefore there is no outside, there's nothing extra, there is nowhere to get any extra material from to make anything. All that is has to make everything out of itself. Thus then you are made literally of God, made literally of creation, made literally of existence. Thus then, value yourself in the way that all that is values you. Now, of course, you don't have to, and many of you are very experienced at devaluing yourself, but that is also a valid experience within creation, a unique one. A valid one. So if you're going to devalue yourself, at least realize that the only way you can actually possibly have an experience of devaluing yourself is that all that is believes you are valuable enough to have any experience you want. So the very fact that that you're able to devalue yourself means you're valuable. That's the paradox. The very fact that you exist means that you have the unconditional support of all that is, and if you wish to believe you do not have unconditional support, that is your right. But the only reason you can even have the experience of pretending that you don't have unconditional support is if in fact you do, because you are being unconditionally supported in your fantasy of not being supported unconditionally. That's the paradox. So allow yourselves to begin to relax this idea that you don't measure up, that you would compare yourself to someone else and find yourself falling short. No one else is like you. No one else can be like you. And you can be like no one else. Try. You will never, ever, ever be anything but you. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you wish you could be someone else, you will never be anyone but you. However, that's exactly what gives you your key to freedom. Because then you can be whatever it is you truly wish to be in exactly the way you prefer to be. And no one else can tell you different, because no one else is you. And no one else knows what it is to be you, just as you don't know what it is to be anyone else. Cherish your unique perspective, cherish your differences, and when each and every one of you allows your differences to be compatible, when each and every one of you allows your differences to be valid and valued, when you truly empower your differences, you will have absolute harmony in your reality. That's how it's created. Harmony is not created through the idea of becoming homogeneous. It is created through the absolute validation of all the differences that you exhibit, because then each of you is taking ownership of the unique puzzle piece that you are in the big picture. If you had a picture puzzle and you wanted to put it together and one of the pieces says, no, I don't want to be that shape, I want to be some other shape. Well, then you would always have a hole in that big picture and that piece would never fit. So the picture would never be whole, and the whole picture thus would never be able to support all of the pieces, and the pieces would never be able to support the whole picture. But if you simply allow yourself to be the shape you are, the shape that nature knows you need to be, the shape that creation created you to be, then by definition, you must fit perfectly in the big picture just as you are. If that was not the case, you would be a different you. You would be a different shape. Whatever shape you are is the shape you need to be, and is the shape that fits with all the other shapes who are also willing to be the shapes that they are. So when you are all the shapes you actually were created to be, you all fit together perfectly in the puzzle picture, and the whole picture thus then exists. You can see what the big picture is from your unique perspective, and you can allow the whole picture to support the unification, the connection between all the pieces. Does that make sense? All right. So once again, and finally, I would suggest that you give up trying to compare yourself to anyone and anything, and just understand that even though someone may act as an inspiration for you, even though they may in some way, shape, or form be creating with their uniqueness, with their differences, something that is similar to what you prefer, something that is somewhat representative, somewhat symbolic of the thing that represents your ideal scenario, your ideal life, your ideal situation, it is only just that, symbolic. It is not identical and never will be. You will find your way of representing that idea in your unique manifestation through your unique perspective with your unique energy. And it will always be uniquely different than anyone else's, no matter how similar you may think it appears. It is only that way by agreement, and thus only by agreement do you experience the idea you call similarity in your reality. Because you are all completely unique. You are all apples and oranges and bananas and watermelons and kumquats and berries and all sorts of other things that are nothing like each other, but you've all come together to play a game of similarities and differences in a balanced way to experience the unique perspective of the physical reality you call the game of Earth, and the discovery of your uniqueness through the playing of that game, by giving yourselves incentives, by seeing, by creating apparent similarities to lure you into what is possible, to symbolize what is possible, to represent an idea and a concept of what is possible for you, but not in any way, shape, or form are those symbols that lure you, those symbols that excite you, not in any way, shape, or form are they designed to make you feel less than or incapable of. Because if you can perceive it, you can be it. Remember, you cannot perceive what you are not the vibration of. So if you can perceive something that is even remotely representative and symbolic of something that represents your ideal scenario, then that means that vibration is in you in a unique way, and it is up to you by acting on your highest passion, by acting on your highest joy, by being who you truly are and allowing your core vibration to shine forth, it is up to you to manifest the unique, particular expression of that idea, and in so doing, enhance the totality of the experiences that all that is having of itself, by thus then being the fully manifested facet of the multidimensional crystal of creation that you were uniquely created to be, are now, and always shall be, because you exist, and thus you always have, and thus you always will in some form or another. Does that make sense? Yes. All right. Then as you let your uniqueness sink in, let us explore the unique ideas, the unique perspectives that you would like to discuss this day of your time, and in return for the gift that you are giving our civilization in allowing us to interact with each and every one of you in this manner, I ask you now, in what way may we be of service to you through your dialogues, questions, and answers?